so much. Thank you for Shay. Thank you, Shay, for inviting me. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Titilayomi, and I'm very honored to be here this afternoon. I'll just wait for my presentation to come up, but while I do that, since I said my name, maybe I should just catch a few people's names. Can I name you, sir?
My name is
Adeleke. Yours?
Sonny Oluwadamala.
Huh?
Sonny Oluwadamala.
And yours, ma'am? Okay, so we have Tommy, we have Sonny, and then we have Adeleke. So there's a secret about me. I don't remember names, but then I remember faces. So it was one of those things when I was leaving public relations industry and I wanted to become an educator. Then I asked myself, you don't remember names. So how are you going to cope as a teacher? So my first experience in the classroom, I just gave nicknames, and then I gradually started learning names. Because I told myself that, okay, I'm not going to not become a teacher because I don't remember names, right? Right? But here I am today. I now know names, not as good as a teacher should, but a lot better compared to where I started from. Is my presentation ready? I had the honor, just like Shay has said, to meet him a while ago, and just like he said, I said that there's so much conversation in Nigeria around education, but then I never quite get to hear about special education. So Shay said, okay, but what can we do? And then I said the first thing that we need to do is everywhere we're having a conversation about education, let's have a conversation about special education as well. It's that simple, So it's how we will get the word out there, So there's education, there is special education going side by side. Good morning, sir. Thank you so much for your presentation. I particularly enjoyed. Is it okay if I don't use the mic because it keeps going off and on?
We'll just resolve the mic issue.
Okay, all right. So, yeah, I'm distracted. I like the fact that the organizers had. I'm sorry, sir. What's your name, sir? Mr. Oye can come just before me. And the reason that is very important is we have to first and foremost establish that a child who is struggling to learn can be struggling for a variety of reasons, correct? Just like he said, maybe the teacher did not do a good job. Maybe there are problems from home, the child cannot focus. Can you tell me one more? Reasons? Anyone can volunteer?
Child has learned challenges.
Learning difficulties. Before we go to that, it can just be as simple as he's not listening. Thank you. It can be that the teacher is not engaging, right? It can be that the teacher is not engaging, correct? It can even be as simple as the child cannot see the board. And so if he's not engaged, then he switches off because he can't see the board, right? Then it can be that the troublemaker of the class sits next to that child, correct? Good. It can be that this child does not go to bed early enough, and so when he gets to the class, he's so sleepy, and then in his head is like, sleep, go away, I'm in class. And then that separation is just struggling. And then we start to worry about this child, but all the child needs is just extra sleep. He's 10 years old, he should be getting 12 hours of sleep, and that's it. It resolves it, correct? Good. So what I'm about to talk to you about has nothing to do with all these things. We want to go a little bit deeper. Are there other reasons that are not surface reasons, right? Correct? They're not your regular reasons. So there's more about this. Do I have our attention?
Yes, you do.
Good. All right. So I said I'd like you to meet me, okay? Even though you know my name is Titilayomi. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'm a mom. I have a son. I'm a teacher, and I'm a school leader. And then also, save the best for the last. I'm a special needs mom. I am raising a child who is 7 years old, and he's on the autism spectrum. How many of us have heard, Ma, can I know why you said, yeah? Oh, okay. I thought you said, yeah. Yes, ma'am. So my son was diagnosed with autism when he was 3 years old. And so for the past 4 years, I have spent my life seeking interventions for him. That's something that is important for you to know about me, so that you understand my passion, and then you can also know that I am a teacher just like you. So every inch, we're the same. I'm a mom, you're a mom. I'm a teacher, you're a teacher. You're probably a school leader, I'm a school leader. All right, so have we connected?
Yes.
So we're the same? Okay, so we can interact.
Yes.
Okay, because I'm not about to teach you. I'm about to rub minds with you. Okay, so are we on the same page?
Yes.
Okay, I am. All right, I'm ready. I think it's best I just do this myself. Yeah. Okay. When I was preparing to come for this, I spoke to Shane, and then we were talking, we were rubbing minds, and then he just gave me this quote. And I'm like, I like that quote. That's going to be the first slide. He said, if you can't track it, you can't improve it. Can we say it? If you can't track it. Thank you. You will understand what that means now. Does anyone know what my topic is? What I'm supposed to talk about? No. No. You didn't look at your invitation. Someone who is confident. One person. Tell me my topic. Yes, please. Yes, go ahead.
Identifying and supporting learners with special needs.
Thank you, ma'am. So my topic is identifying and supporting, yes, learners with special needs. Let's take a moment to write that down. And so that's why I have this slide. I said, you want me to talk about identifying a learner with special needs, right? And then you want us to talk about how to support such a child, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go into it. Now, we all know that every child is unique, correct?
Yes.
As teachers, we also know they have strengths and they have weaknesses, correct? For a variety of reasons, right? Genes, exposure, everything, right? And then just uniqueness. Like, I'm completely different from her. And she is, right? And also, we understand as educators that children develop differently, correct? And even especially as parents, for some of us that are parents. Now, I then ask the question, so how do I tell when a child has special needs, considering that every child is unique? So can't I just think this child is just unique? No, thank you. Now, I said, this is the answer to this question. When concerns are beyond ordinary, or there is more to be worried about. Do I have a marker? Okay. So then the next thing you would say is, what do I even mean by ordinary, right? And then what do I mean by where there's more to be worried about, right? So you ask me, worried about what exactly? What am I supposed to be worried about? Correct? Are we following?
Yes.
Good. Two things. Two broad things. The development of that child. The what? The development of that child. And then the second thing that we should be worried about is how the child is. Thank you. How is this child learning? And how is this child developing? I'd like you to write, but I'd like you to really listen to me. Okay? So I said, I'm supposed, as an an educator, I'm supposed to be worried about, I'm supposed to watch out, before we go to worried. I'm supposed to watch out for how a child is developing and how my learner is learning. Okay, good. I'm going somewhere. Now, if I just say I should be worried about how a child is learning and how a child is developing, that is so broad. It's vague. It means nothing, correct? Or let me say, it means a lot, right? So let's narrow it down. There are 4 broad areas. 4 broad areas that I'm supposed to take a look at as an educator. It is communication and interaction. What do I mean by communication and interaction? I'm communicating to you right now, right? Yes. And I like my class because I'm getting a lot of feedback from you, and not just even verbal. I see some people's eyes on me. I love it. They're engaged. They're hooked to me. I like that. So an interaction is going on between us, even though they're not saying anything. Correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, my learner, okay, as far as communication and interaction goes, are we together?
Yes.
Okay. I want to watch out as an educator. Does this child have difficulty in saying what they want to say, or in understanding what has been said to them? So I had this little kid in year 2, came to me on Friday, and then he said, Mrs. Durojaiye, I'm not trying to, this is his voice, very cute voice. Mrs. Durojaiye, so my mommy told me that, no. So, I want to come to school yesterday, but I'm not in school yesterday, but I'm in school now. Did someone say pardon? Keep that in your head somewhere. Okay? Can we keep that in our head somewhere? Good. Now, how does a child respond when you as an educator or friends in the class talk to that child? Then, when that child wants to talk on their own to someone else or to you, how do they communicate? Does it appear like they do not understand or use social rules of communication? What are the social rules of communication? Social cues, right? Like knowing that, oh, I'm not supposed to do this, even if I haven't said it, correct? Good. Like, I'm talking to you now and then I'm talking like this, like, you haven't told, thank you, ma'am, respecting boundaries. She hasn't told me, don't be in my face. But I know that, right? She doesn't have to tell me, right? It's just social cues, right? Good. So you see, a learner, it's like the child just doesn't respect boundaries, or the child just doesn't get it, right? There's just so much excess, right? You're just like, can you just... Now, good. That's communication and interaction. Cognition and learning. Okay? Does that child, thank you, does that child have difficulty in understanding parts of the curriculum? So, I hear educators say this, oh, he's totally fine with his numeracy. He's so good. He's always scoring 100 over 100. But composition, it's like it just goes over his head. He doesn't know. No, you can't do that in my class. Okay, it's like the teacher in me came out when I saw her dozing. So you say to yourself, I hear teachers saying, but when it's time for comprehension or composition, he's lost. Okay? So he understands a part, but not the whole. He understands a part of the curriculum, but not the whole. So the child is not accessing everything. Okay? Am I making sense, guys? Yes. Okay, good. So does he have difficulties with organization and memory skills? So it's like you're talking to him and he's just constantly forgetting everything, or he hasn't forgotten, but he can't organize his thoughts. He can't organize what he knows.
I've just explained that, right? Good. Now, does that child have social, emotional, and mental health difficulties? How would I know that? Does the child have difficulty in managing their relationships with other people in the class? Right? Does he have a withdrawn attitude? Or is he isolating, playing alone, just wants to do his own thing? It's like he zones out. It's like he's just in a world of his own, and he's fine with it. He doesn't want anyone in, and he doesn't want to go out. Are we together? Yeah. Good. As well as displaying challenging, disruptive, or disturbing behaviors. Or does he actually have difficult behaviors? It's just difficult to manage this child, you know? Good. Or does he have sensory or physical needs? What do I mean by sensory? Does he, the physical needs first, let's do that first. That's obvious, okay? So he has a visual impairment or a hearing impairment, okay? Or just any physical need whatsoever, right? Okay. Or does he have difficulties in perception, in communication, and in the acquisition of information? Now, let me tell you what is most important about these 4 broad areas. Are we listening?
Yes.
Now, when I started to talk, right? Can you raise your hands if you have at least encountered one learner that has at least one difficulty in any of these areas? If you're not raising your hands this time, you're not telling the truth. Yes. There's no way in your experience of being an educator, you have encountered a child that has at least difficulty in one of these areas. Thank you. Now, listen to me very well now. That is not a big concern. You can be concerned, but it's not a big concern. Can anyone tell me when it becomes a big concern? Someone very smart? Ah, thank you, sir. Can we clap in? When there is one learner where all of this difficulty is present. Because for any growing child, remember this, my slide? For any developing child, right? They're unique. They have strengths, they have weaknesses, and they are going to develop differently. Correct? Exactly. So it's not a bother. So the worry comes when I have a learner where all of these concerns are present. Thank you, everyone. Can we clap ourselves? Now, having established that, okay, so what's next? Now I'm concerned, right? Now we can use our big word, concerned, correct? Okay, worried. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Now I am worried. Now we are allowed to be worried. So I'm worried now. What's next? What am I supposed to do? First thing, as an educator, you call for a parent meet. Okay? Your learners are in your custody, correct? To nurture, correct? Exactly. Every educator is a parent, correct? In fact, in my teacher training, I was told I'm a nanny, correct? Yeah, I'm a nanny, so I'm a nurturer. So the first thing is, let me call my partner, right? My partner, the parent, the bigger stakeholder, right? The biggest stakeholder, actually. Good. So we meet. When we meet, what do I tell them? That's the next thing an educator is asking me. You know why? Especially in an African community. So you say, oh, what am I going to say? That something is wrong with their child? Absolutely not. What am I going to say to the parents? Correct? Good. Particularly because they're Africans, right? So I'm not going to say there's something wrong with your child. Ah. Or is it this paper? Here. Thank you, ma'am. So I am not going to tell anyone that something is what? Wrong with their... I think it might be this paper as well. Something is what? Wrong. No. But there is something that is not right. You only flipped it. There is something that is not. Do we know what typical means? Thank you. Well, because we're educators, we're very familiar with this word development, right? Okay. So there is typical development because the child is progressing in development as he ought to by design, okay? But if that is not happening, then something is going on that is atypical. So that's what we want to discuss. All right? We're not discussing things that are wrong. Because a lot of times, thank you so much, our approach is why we get that resistance from parents. Do we understand? Yes. And our approach says it all. Because you are the one who would help the parent to see that we need more help for your child. So it's not doomsday. It's not a death sentence here. It's that this child needs additional, thank you everyone. I like more words, additional support. I love that word you gave me, support. Okay? All right? So when we meet, share your observations. Now, when you're sharing your observations, be only descriptive. Do not be judgmental. Don't call names. Don't give your personal opinion. Just state what you saw. Describe. Do we know the difference? State exactly what happened. Oh, when we have numeracy, Shade struggles with this part. This part. Those are facts. They are not opinion and judgments. Okay? Are we together? Yes. Now, when you have shared your concerns, guys, am I allowed to say guys? Yes. 98% of the time, the parents already have concerns about their children. So, you give that attitude of, these are my concerns. I'd love to know your concerns too. What have you seen at home that bothers you? Do you know the look on her face right now? It's like she's the parent. She just got easy. Like, no, she got comfortable to want to talk to me. She's calm. And when she's calm, she would offer information. Okay? Good. All right. Now, ask them about their observations. Ask them about medical history. Okay? Ask them about where did this child go to before today? Okay? Before my school. Or if the child started in early beginners in your school, call the teacher into such a meeting as well. Previous educators, okay? So we want to collect data, all right? Now, when we get all that, and you see that, okay, it's like we're somewhere on the same page, correct? Then the next thing is that we recommend them for a medical assessment. I said something here. I said it's now out of your just signpost. That's all. You're an educator. You're not a doctor. You're not a practitioner. I'm sorry, you're not a medical practitioner, okay? Your job as an educator is to express your concerns, okay? And then move it along. It's now out of your... Now, having said all that, I thought it was important for us to do a definition. Teachers always define, correct? Good. Who are children with special needs? Let's even define it. Special needs is a broad term to refer to children determined to require, you guys are brilliant, additional, thank you, attention, and specific provisions. What is unique about those additional? Why did we call it additional? Thank you so much. Not everyone needs it. Not everyone needs it, which other children do not need, due to a vast array of diagnoses or disabilities that makes learning or other activities difficult. Now, this is where the emphasis is. You know why? Tell me about medical conditions that you know. Let's just take two. Huh? Malaria, thank you, ma'am. Diabetes, cancer. No, sir. Let's stick to those three. Does it affect the way a child learns? No. Thank you. So there are medical conditions that a learner would have, but it doesn't impact how that learner learns. Okay? Fine. It can impact access. So because he's always sick, then he's out of school half the term. But I'm saying when it's time to learn, does it affect the child? Exactly. So that's how we know a child that requires special education. So it is not because there's a medical condition that automatically qualifies you to need special education. No. It is when that medical condition affects how you learn. Remember we said two things in the beginning? We said we should be concerned about what? Development and learning. Thank you, everyone. You guys are very brilliant. Now, did you observe that I colored the word disabilities in red? Because I wanted us to pay more attention to it. What does the word disability mean to you? When you hear disability, what does it mean to you? Incapacitated. Thank you, ma'am. Challenged and handicapped. Thank you. Now, do we know that it can either be physical or hidden? Did we know that?
Yes.
Now I feel like I didn't do a good job. I thought you didn't know that. Thank you, everyone. So, let's take two examples here. HIV/AIDS. Is it a physical disability or a hidden disability? Thank you, everyone. Deafness. Is it physical or hidden? Physical. Thank you. Down syndrome. Is it physical or hidden? Physical. Thanks, everyone. Sleep disorder. Is it physical or hidden? Hidden. Thank you. So now we've established, right? A disability can either be physical or hidden. Now, I want to ask you, when a disability is physical, what do we do? So let's say I see a learner in my school and he's on crutches and he's coming into school. What are you likely to do? Just see, I'm just seeing the learner. You're a brilliant, this is going to be my most brilliant student. Yes. What does she do? She just automatically wants to help. She wants to remove barriers. She wants to give access, correct? When the disability is hidden, do you do that? No. Thank you, everyone. Let's clap ourselves. Now, that is the biggest problem in the education sector when it comes to special education, when it comes to identification and support. That's the biggest thing. Because when these disabilities are physical, it's easy to remove barriers because we can relate, we can see. But when they're hidden, we're lost, right? We're lost. A lot of us have children, learners. We don't know what to do with them. We just let them be. We're confused. Thank you. Completely lost. Now let's define special education. Special education is defined as specially designed instruction. Recall that we said that disability must hinder, right? Must be the type that hinders, right? That doesn't give access, correct? Good. So special education as well. So that means that child can't access, right? Okay. So we have to specially design it to meet the needs of that. Thank you. Which those needs are always what? Unique. They're always unique. Unique to the child alone. Okay? Good. special needs child, right? And we've also defined special education, right? Let's put the two together. All right? Are we together?
Yes.
Good. A person with special educational needs is someone whose capacity to participate in and benefit from education is restricted or incapacitated due to an enduring disability. Most disabilities are enduring. Some are transient, correct? Yes, but mostly they're enduring, correct? Especially in a learning environment. So please don't take a lot of things that I say for the biggest scope of things. Okay, this is just within education. This is just for this purpose, okay? All right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So a pupil has special educational needs where their learning difficulty or disability calls for a special educational provision. And this provision we're talking about is different from or additional to that which is generally available. And that's why it's special. That's why it has to be designed. Okay? So why are we learning about children with special needs? Why did Sheyi even include this in his agenda for this academy? It's because with proper care and education, every child can reach his or her full potential. Thank you. Now I said here, children with special needs require extra attention, teaching, care, and love. Okay? The presence of a special needs child in your class is not an accident. It's not an accident. Now the question for you is, will you play your part? But how can you play your part when you don't know what to do? Like the gentleman said. When you're lost, how do you play your part? We talk about provision. We talk about specially designed instructions. All of this big English, right? I don't know what to do, correct? Okay, now, there are two ways that our learning environment can be structured, right? We can either have special educational needs met in a restrictive environment or in an inclusive environment. I know that educators love to say this a lot. Our school is inclusive, right? We practice inclusion, correct? I hear it a lot. Our doors are open for all learners. It's a big joke. Do you know why? Do you know why it's a joke?
Why?
I'll tell you what we do. Please look at this diagram. What do you see? No, that's what you can read. What can you see? Huh? Tell me. Huh? Separation, thank you. Thank you. Who said that? Please clap her. She sees a minority. So I had my master's done in the United Kingdom, specifically in Scotland. So the first day in my class, you know what I was looking for? A Ninja babe. I beg. I just need one single Ninja babe. Because I'm a minority. Why? I want to connect with her and stay in our little box. Correct? Why? Thank you. I would get comfort. I'll get support. Thank you. We know each other. We can speak Yoruba. If Yoruba was eating me. Or pidgin or anything. We can connect. So this is these big people, right? And then these people are outside. Correct? There's no access. Is there?
No.
There's no access. Huh?
No interaction.
No interaction. Thank you. Now, exclusion. What do you think? How do you think this differs from this?
The first one, they group together and find comfort together. But
Thank
the
you,
other one,
ma'am.
they're scattered.
So this is even worse than this, right? Because at least here I can look for someone else. Okay, let's go together, right? But here, not only are they excluded, They can't even interact. These two is what is going on in the United States, right? Right? And all their cities are destroyed. Right? Right? Thank you for George Floyd. Okay? That guy's head is like a stone. It's like a stone, man. Okay, I said exclusion is a keeping apart, blocking of an entrance. And I said segregation is discriminatory. Because these people will call themselves something, right? Then the rest will be, these people are probably saying things about them, correct? Good. Now, let's go here. Integration. And I say this with all due respect. This is what most of our schools are practicing. So, you take the kids in, you enroll them, and you do placement. You don't do provision. They are placed. They're right here, right? You know what I call this? I said I'm at the party, but I'm not with the party. So when you go to your Owambe parties, and you're wearing a car, you don't get to eat catfish. No. You don't get a bottle of wine on your desk. On your table. Correct? Are you in the party? Yes, you're in the party, of course. You're wearing a car. You forgot that? And you can hear the music. Thank you, sir. And when you're going home, do you get a blender? What do you get? Plastic. So you are in the party, but you are not with the party. And that's what we do. And it's not with all due respect. It is because we don't know what to do. Yes. Now, this is inclusion. Inclusion is being there and taking part. I'm there. I'm taking part. See? It's completely different from all of this. So the question is, what do you want to do in your school? When you call yourself an inclusive school, what does it really mean? Okay? I said an inclusive school is a school that removes barriers within and from education through the accommodation and provision of appropriate structures and arrangements to enable each learner achieve the maximum benefit from their attendance. So in inclusion, we are looking at active participation. The child has access to curriculum, has access to activities. It's specially designed. The needs of that child has been assessed, and there's provision for that child. That's what inclusion is. Someone said, you know why? Because that's crazy work. Thank you. I said integration prioritizes the placement of pupils, but inclusion promotes actual participation and accommodation. What is special education needs provision? What does that provision mean? It means we are removing barriers. Recall that we said the reason why this child is called special needs is because the way the child is developing is different, and the way the child is learning is different. Okay, so why would this child not have a specially designed instruction when we know he can't access the general curriculum? And then we claim that we're inclusive. What we've done is placement, not inclusion. Yes. So that child is participating, learning, and making progress. Okay?
Yes.
What did I say about the provision? I said it is effective. It cannot be effective if there is no assessment. Correct?
Yes.
Good. So I'll quickly go here and then I'll come back to that. When you say something is effective, it means it must have answered all the questions. Right? An effective strategy. That strategy is designed to meet specific needs. Correct? Yes. That's when it becomes effective. So the very first thing, this is the roadmap to special education needs provision. There has to be an assessment. Specific assessment for that child, sometimes beyond the school. and you have to call in psychologists or occupational therapists or speech therapists, a real assessment. And so that's why you can't even begin to provide for the child if you don't even know what the diagnosis is. So the first thing is, remember when we called the parents? What did we do? We signposted. How many minutes do I have? She is done, 2 minutes? Huh? About that? Okay, all right. So now when we've done a good assessment, a proper assessment, we determine the actual needs of this child, correct? Yes. Good. So we know, is this child even going to offer all the subjects? Or we just need to focus on literacy and numeracy. Because if it's not a reader, then why are you doing home economics and science? Placements, not provision. Okay, you want him to write A. He's in nursery. You want him to write A. He can't scribble yet. He can't make a vertical line. He can't make an horizontal line. How can you write B? You haven't assessed the needs. You can't provide. You're not providing. You've only placed the child in your school. So when we're done assessing, then we go to a tailored provision. So we tailor provision to the needs that have been identified. Thank you, everyone. Then we go to the big gun. We implement. So most children with disabilities such as autism, Down syndrome, things like that, they require what we call an IEP, individualized education plan. So you design their own curriculum for them, and that's what you follow. Then, no matter what we do, we have to review, right? Someone has to be monitoring the progress. We have to report. This is how we know if we're doing well. Then guess what? This one will feed back to this. Yes, no? So here we will know, oh, there's some things we haven't done right, correct? Yes. So it brings us back here. So it's a loop. Okay? All right. Now, I want to talk about the parents of a special needs child. And I want this conversation to be conscientious for you. When a parent brings their child to your school and they have special needs, they're not just there to place their child. They want their child to learn. Okay? They didn't just place that child in your school for placement, which is what you were doing. No, they want the child to learn, but they are lost themselves. And they brought that child to you because they feel you're an educator and you can help them. The same way when we don't feel well, we go to a doctor, right? And we have absolute confidence in our doctor because they are trained, correct? Yes. And you think, oh, they'll diagnose me, I will know what to do, correct? So what is your role? What's your role? Create an enabling environment. Your environment must promote social interactions, deliberate, intentional efforts. Okay? And it's throughout the day. Effective teaching techniques. How you're going to teach this child is not how you're going to teach that child. So what works for one doesn't work for all. Managing behavioral challenges. I can guarantee you, especially if the diagnosis is autism or ADHD and some other ones, you will have to deal with behaviors. You can't manage behaviors unless you have the training to do that. And that's another training entirely. But I just want to let you know what you need. But I'm not able to go into giving you what you need. It's a very short session. Now, this whole provision is not what a teacher can do. No. It's a whole school. It involves a lot of collaborations. It involves a lot of resources, most times outside of the school. Ownership and control. You have to work deeply with parents. There has to be effective supervision. You need a unit where someone who is knowledgeable about this, okay? and you've referred to them as cancerous Titi or diabetic Titi. Okay, so why do we say autistic Titi? Why do you say that? Why? You can't put the diagnosis before the child because no one is going to meet the child. The diagnosis is a part of the child. It's not the entirety of that child. So do not present a learner. Do not present a learner as a problem. The learner has needs that you need to fulfill. So don't label the child. I said, persons with disability and their families do not value sympathy. And don't sympathize with them. There's nothing wrong with them. It's not a disease. It's a medical condition. What they need from you is empathy. A parent said something. We don't want our children managed. We want them supported. Support. Additional. Thank you. Go get it. Okay? And put the person first. Can you introduce that person as Titilayomi and not say autistic Titilayomi, please? Okay? Labels do what? They devalue. The child doesn't even get an opportunity to meet that person because you already introduced him as autistic Titi. Okay? All right? Now, I am not naive, right? There will be roadblocks. A lot of it, actually. So it's not an easy journey. Hallelujah. That I can guarantee you. It's not. You have a lot of attitude to contend with. Even from the parents. Okay? Parents go through denials, different stages, partial whole, partially whole. Okay? Lack of professionals and best practices. How many educators even know anything about special needs? Okay? Access, availability of services, administrative bottleneck, time constraints. I only